Hello scholars, welcome back. This is week 2 of summer math. I'm excited that you're back with me today. So the start of chapter 2 has a warm-up that goes over the least common multiple. If you guys have any difficulty or can't remember what least common multiple is, go ahead and email me or come to tutoring and we can talk about that, okay? So we're looking at did you get the part? And this is the warm-up. And we're going to go over those right now. So I wrote down all of the problems. I'm going to do the first two, and if you guys, well, maybe first few, if you guys have any problems, you can come during tutoring or email me or message me on Google Classrooms. Either of those will work. All right, so we're trying to find the least common multiple. So to find the least common multiple, I suggest, this is just a little tip that I like to do, I like to look at the first two numbers, so the pair that we're trying to look at, and I like to look at the smallest number. And I like to say to myself, can this number go into this number? Can 3 go into 4 evenly? And no, we know that that is not the case. 3 cannot go into 4 evenly. So what is a number that is the smallest number that both of these numbers can go into? Well, the next number that 3 can go into, well, 3 can go into 3, 3 can go into 6. Can 4 go into 6? No. What about the next one? 9, can 4 go into 9? No. Can the next number, the next multiple for 3 would be 12. Can 4 go into 12? It sure can. Another way, so that we don't get distracted or confused, we can say, well, what are the multiples of 3? Well, 3, the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So we can write those out. And we can write down all of the multiples for 4. So the multiples for 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. What is the least, the smallest, what is the least common multiple? Well, the first one that I see that is common is 12. So we know that the least common multiple for this pair of numbers is 12. Let's try this one. Can the smallest number is 2. Can 2 go into 4? It sure can. So we know that the least common multiple is 4. Now let's look at the return of the area model. It shows us that we are going to represent half of this page right here with these lines going in one direction, and we're going to represent 1/4 going in the opposite direction. So, what are we trying to do? We are trying to multiply two fractions together, and we are trying to show what that will equal. So when we multiply 1/2 times 1/4, we get this part right here has been shaded on twice. So this part right here is our answer. So 1 out of how many parts total? We have 1 out of 8 parts total, so we know that this is 1/8. Now, I personally like to represent these types of models on a piece of paper. I went ahead and took this piece of paper and I folded it in half, folded it in half again. So I did hot dog, then hamburger, and then I think hamburger, I think that's what you call it. And I made all of our little parts, okay? So I then went ahead and drew on half of this page to represent 1/2. So if you look, I drew blue lines to represent 1/2. I then took a different color and I did lines in the other direction in orange or red, whatever color it was. If you look, we have 1/2 by 1/4. So if we were to multiply those together, well, we can show that if we were to fold them all up. And then I have this part left over. I'm going to go ahead and color that all up. You can see we are coloring this all up. So this is representing 1/4 by 1/2. So basically we're multiplying 1/4 times 1/2, or 1/2 times 1/4. Either way, same thing. All right, so let's go ahead and open it up. And let's see. So when we do 1/2 times 1/4, we have 1/8 as our product. I know it's kind of messy, don't judge. But yes, 1/8 as our product. And we can do this the same way on a piece of paper. Now when we look on page 207, it says estimate the product of 2/3 by 3/4. Well, going by the logic that we just went over with this previous problem, when 1/4, which is a part of a whole, times 1/2, which is part of a whole, it equals less than a whole. Well, same thing here. If we were to estimate the product of 2/3 times 3/4, well, 2/3 is part of a whole, and 3/4 is part of a whole. So we know that the answer is going to be less than 1. Now question 2 says to represent the product using the area model, right here. I went ahead and drew it on a piece of paper just to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit easier for us to see. But what we're multiplying is 2/3 by 3/4. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this part into 2/3. Well, I'm going to divide it into thirds. So we have 1, 2, and 3. So we just divided this into 3 parts because our denominator is a 3. It's naming our fraction, so we're dividing into 3 parts. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and divide this way into 4 parts because our denominator here is 4. So I'm going to divide this in half and divide each of these in half again to represent 4 parts. Now we need to go ahead and color. So we need to draw 2/3 of this. So I'm going to draw 2/3. And then 3/4. Which part is duplicated? This part right here. How many parts did we have in total? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 in all. And then how many did we color? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 by 12. Can we simplify this? We sure can. 6 is half of 12, so we know that it can be simplified to 1/2. Now we can also take our original 2 fractions, it was 2/3 by 3/4, and we can multiply across. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. That's what we got up here. And then when we simplify, we know that it equals 1/2. Now, even though it is easier to just multiply across, just to do 2 times 3 equals 6 and 3 times 4 equals 12 and just simplify it that way, that is easier. But the reason why I want to show you the models and why we draw the models out is to show you that multiplying a part by part is going to give you a product that is less than 1. Whenever you multiply a part of a whole times a part of a whole, you're always going to have less than a whole. Okay, so if you guys have any questions about this concept, a little bit more clarification, you can definitely email me, message me on class or on Google Classrooms, and then I'm always here for tutoring always here to help. So just let me know, and I hope you guys have a great day.